The room went dead silent. My sister's face turned bright red as the director flipped through the failed proposal, his voice cutting sharper with each word. "This is what you submitted. This is what you said you created," he asked, disbelief dripping from every syllable. My sister stammered. I started around the table, her hands trembling against the glossy conference folder. And me? I sat right across from her, calm, collected, watching it all unfold. She had taken credit for my work. Every slide, every line, every idea. She strutted around like a peacock while people praised her. And now she was being roasted alive for the very same thing she thought would make her look brilliant. I didn't jump in. I didn't save her. I just leaned back in my chair and let her own the mistake she thought was my burden to carry. But before you judge me, if you're new here, welcome. This channel is where we share stories that most people bury about betrayal, abuse, and the kind of revenge that leaves scars you can't see. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and stay with me. And let me rewind. You need to know how we got here, because this wasn't just one mistake. This was years of betrayal, envy, and petty games. And trust me, I learned the hard way. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply silence. I should probably tell you our names. I'm Olivia Bennett, 31, Austin-born, and barbecue loyalist. My sister is Harper, 2 years younger, a natural charmer, and the family's unofficial PR department since age 5. Harper could sell rain to a hurricane. Growing up, she sold our parents on the idea that I was the serious one and she was the star. Cute when we were kids. Less cute when payroll got involved. We both wound up at the same creative agency downtown, the kind with neon slogans on brick walls and kombucha on tap like they're afraid of water. I ran strategy. Harper ran accounts. I wrote the bones, research, models, the scaffolding that keeps big ideas from falling on people. She did the glitter, handshakes, espresso, Instagram with captions that end in 3 dots for suspense. Here's the thing about glitter. It's pretty, then it's everywhere, and it never does the heavy lift. For a year, I let it slide. I tweaked her decks before client meetings. I fixed numbers at 2 a.m. I watched her take the compliments with that shrug like praise embarrassed her. It didn't. She called it teamwork. I called it preemptive damage control. And then she did the one thing you can't do to me and expect me to stay soft. She stole everything I built and made it her brand. The pitch was for a national grocery chain rolling out a low-cost, high-freshness model in food deserts. It mattered. I spent 6 weeks mapping routes, supplier leverage, community partnerships, real work that touches real lives if you do it right. I named the framework Bridge and Basket. It was elegant. It worked. The night before the pitch, I watched the cursor in our shared drive jump around the master deck like a nervous rabbit. Then the file name changed from Bridge and Basket Final to Bridge and Basket Final H. The H was not silent. My stomach went cold. 5 minutes later, Harper posted in Slack, "All upload done, I'll take it from here. No @Olivia, no thanks, just a digital pat on her own back." I typed, "Circling back, let's review slides 18 through 24. She replied with a heart emoji, which is corporate for shut up. I didn't sleep. I also didn't say a word. People think revenge means fireworks. Sometimes it means you stop rescuing someone who keeps setting their own house on fire. I printed my original deck and slid it into my tote. Then I opened the version Harper grabbed, my in-progress copy from 3 days earlier. Not sabotage, just unfinished. The forecasts were placeholders highlighted in yellow with a note that said, "Replace with Q2 supplier quotes." Slide 12 had a line that literally read, "Insert case study here or cut if no time." Slide 26 ended with, don't promise 8-week rollout. Legal hates that. Subtle, but lethal if you don't know the bones. Harper had never known the bones. She'd only ever inherited the house fully built, lights on, scented candle lit. This time, I left the studs exposed and the wiring labeled "Do Not Touch." Morning, conference room, long walnut table, too many succulents. Senior leadership was there, plus the client's director, silver hair, surgical eyes, the kind who measures twice and fires once. Harper floated in wearing power beige and a perfume that smelled like someone trademarked the word aspiration. "Ready?" she chirped. "I'm always," and I took a seat at the far end, notebook open, pen uncapped, face calm. If you've ever waited for a storm you predicted, you know that stillness. Harper launched. She smiled, she sold, she promised 8 weeks. My pen paused. Slide 12 arrived. Insert case study here or cut if no time. She read it out loud before her brain caught up. Silence. She coughed, laughed it off, inside joke, and kept going faster now, the way you run downhill when your feet get ahead of you. Slide 18 showed the placeholder supplier quote, $0, 0 cents per mile. The director leaned forward. "Is that free logistics?" She blinked. "It's illustrative." "Of what?" He didn't smile. By slide 24, she was promising a community hiring pipeline that legal had flagged in big red letters last week. She didn't know that. She never checked notes. She performed the ideas. She didn't build them. Meanwhile, I said nothing. I didn't even shift in my chair. I let her keep talking. After, the air went thin. The director closed the folder with a soft thud that sounded meaner than a slam. "This is sloppy," he said, "and dangerous. You promised a timetable your own deck warns against. You quoted vendors that don't exist. You presented an empty case study." Harper went pale. She started flailing for anything that could be shaped into a reason. "We, had a last-minute, handoff. My team—" "Your team?" He glanced at me. "Who is the strategist of record?" A dozen eyes slid toward me like beads on a broken necklace. I could have raised my hand. I could have taken the hit or thrown the rope. You know what I did? I turned a page in my notebook and waited. Harper said finally, voice tiny, "Me. I led this." He nodded once, like a judge stamping a file. "Then you own it." Harper looked at me with that look only sisters know, the silent, furious plea that says, "Help me, like you always do." It flashed across her face, fast as a bruise. I held her gaze. Then I looked back at the director, steady as a level. "I appreciate your time," he said, standing. "We'll reevaluate whether this agency understands the gravity of working in underserved communities." Door. Click. Gone. The room stayed very quiet, the way rooms do when something important just died. Our creative director rubbed his temple and muttered, "What happened?" Harper swallowed. There was a version issue." "A version you took," I said politely. Not loud, not cruel, just true. Her mouth opened and closed. "Liv, come on." "Olivia," I corrected. Still calm. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. Here's where people expect the big reveal. The USB key, the time-stamped emails, the dramatic monologue that ends with applause. Cute. That's movie revenge. Real life runs colder. I didn't expose her. I didn't send the receipts. I didn't whisper in the director's ear after the meeting or CC the world with a thread of proofs. I let the adult consequences of an adult choice collect her like a tide. Harper's calendar filled with uncomfortable quick syncs. Legal wanted to chat about promises made, Finance wanted backup for numbers she'd waved at. Our CEO wanted a post-mortem owning the miss. The word owning did a lot of heavy lifting that week. At home, Mom called. "Harper says there was some confusion," she said, in that martyred tone you get when you've already chosen a side. "Did you let her take the wrong version?" I stared out my window at a live oak bleeding pollen onto my car. "No," I said. "I let her take exactly what she reached for." "Isn't that the same thing?" "It is not." Mom sighed like I just refused to pass the salt. "You girls have always been competitive." "Only one of us kept score," I said, and hung up before the guilt cartilage could form. The agency scheduled a redo with the client, one final chance to prove we weren't a circus. This time, they asked me to present. Harper would observe. That word hurt her more than any insult could. Observe is what you do at the zoo. I rebuilt the deck from my original. No promises that break laws, no sugar, real costs, real timelines, real partners who actually exist. I added one slide at the end. White background, black type, 12 words. "We will not sell you a miracle. We will build you a map." The night before the redo, Harper knocked on my apartment door. Mascara smudged, pride cracked. "Can we talk?" she asked. I made tea. She didn't touch hers. "I messed up," she said. "I got greedy. I'm sorry. I thought—" She stopped. "I thought I could be you." "That's the problem," I said. "You didn't want to be you. You wanted the credit without the craft." She flinched. "You could have saved me." "I have," I said. "For years. That's why this is happening." She started to cry. Quiet. Real. I handed her a tissue. I did not hug her. Mercy without boundaries is just consent to be used again. "Will you let me help tomorrow?" she asked. "Help," I said, means staying quiet when you want the mic and speaking only when the work needs you. I held her eyes. "Can you do that?" She nodded like a child, promising not to touch the stove again while her hand hovers over the burner. Morning came. I wore a navy dress with pockets deep enough to hold all my patients. Harper sat 2 chairs to my left, hands folded, mouth a straight line. The director arrived, same surgical gaze, maybe a fraction colder. I started. I showed the map. I showed the math. I spoke like a person who understood that grocery stores are not logos. They are lifelines. Halfway through, the director's shoulders softened. At the end, he nodded once. "This," he said, "is a plan." We exhaled as one organism. He gathered his folder. "Will proceed to contract, pending governance." Then he paused, looked from me to Harper. "But I'll need a word about accountability." There it was. The next door, cracking open to something neither of us could dodge. I felt Harper go rigid beside me, like a deer deciding whether to freeze or run. And I'm going to stop right there, because what he said next, that's the part that decides whether my sister learns or just loses. It's also the moment I had to choose between 2 very different kinds of justice. The kind that fixes the work and the kind that fixes the relationship. If that's even possible. If you've ever had someone steal your hard work, you know exactly how this feels. Should I have saved my sister or let her burn? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy dark family drama, sibling betrayals, and real revenge stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next twist.